Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
It is 5:06 on this Friday morning. Thanks for tuning in here as we wrap up this week and launch you into a midsummer weekend. Hopefully with a spring in your step. I mean, I am pleased to inform you that as you wake up this morning on this Friday, 18th day of July, the Stephen Colbert Show has announced that they will be canceled, and NPR and PBS, though they may go forward with their operations, will no longer be taking money out of your pocket to keep their operations flowing.
Amen.
Those are some, and we heard rumors of a huge blockbuster expose revealing the sordid friendship and relationship between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. The Wall Street Journal sort of launched it last night, and it was a huge, embarrassing dud for them. And now Donald Trump is kind of angry, and he's going after the Epstein story with a vengeance. So I don't know. What started out this week as sort of a not shaky week, but a challenging week because of the Epstein story still sort of lingering there. Now it seems like by the end of the week, everybody's coalesced once again, and we remind ourselves who the real problem in this country is. Coming up at 6:35, Tim Graham from Media Research Center, a man who single-handedly has been focusing on NPR and PBS literally for his entire career, revealing their bias. 7:05, Byron York. 8:05, the governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin. And then at 8:35, Representative Jason Smith, chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, author of the Big Beautiful Bill. It's Larry O'Connor with Patrice Onwuka. Good morning, Patrice.
Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. We made it.
Yes. Amen to that. And sorry, I did a little longer preamble than normal there, but it's just kind of interesting how this week has gone. And we'll dive through those three big stories I just gave you and many other things, of course. And I do want to reveal sort of how Trump addressed this Wall Street Journal story. And I don't know, it seems like he's found his footing again on the relevance of the Epstein story, why it matters, and but we'll get into all of those details. But first, the most immediate breaking story happened right around midnight, where the House of Representatives passed the final version of the rescissions that the White House had sent back to the House. Now, this is an option that has been on the books for about 50-plus years now, Patrice.
Yes.
Back then, Congress determined, hey, if any given time we allocate funds and appropriate, and the White House finds that they don't need to spend that money. You know how D.C. works. Every single department, every single cabinet division, everybody in Washington, D.C., spends every single penny that has been budgeted and appropriated to them. At the end of the fiscal year, it's a joke around D.C. It's a punchline that in the final couple of weeks of every fiscal year, people find things to buy. We've got this money. We got to spend it on something. Instead of doing what any normal business does or family does, which is, we didn't need that money that we originally budgeted. Great. Let's save it. Let's not spend it. Let's put it back in the Treasury and reallocate it next year. Because the way budgeting works in Washington, D.C., you use your baseline of last year and you always grow it. You always grow it. The last thing you want to do is go back to the boss and say, hey, we don't need all this money. That you'll get fired. The one thing that'll get you fired in Washington, D.C. is to say we don't need this money. So they put this provision in there and it's never been used until now. The Trump administration came in, Elon Musk with the DOGE effort, working with Russ Vought, the director of OMB, determined this first package. We're told there's more packages coming of rescission.
Yes,
but this first
there
package,
are. Yes.
$9 billion in foreign aid and funding for financing the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. And that foreign aid, by the way, using that term loosely, this is the junk, the garbage, the stuff that was punchlines around the world that we were spending money on.
Yeah, the partisan radical agenda spreading, garbage, to the rest of the world.
With a slush fund known as USAID. Last night, Mike Johnson once again pulled a rabbit out of his hat, and he took his very, very small majority and got a 216 to 213 vote on this, and now it is over. Well, it'll be sent to the president. He will sign it. This bill could be signed as early as today. Actually, I think it needs to be signed today for the rescissions to take effect. And the big headline is that the Corporation of Public Broadcasting will now have to look for the billions of dollars we've been giving them out of our pockets. They're going to have to look somewhere else for that money, or they're going to have to operate like a real corporation and maybe not spend money on the palatial studios they have, not have 30 producers working on one-hour program. Maybe they're going to actually have to work like any other normal media company.
So this bill is really important. After we know the big, beautiful bill passed was signed into law on for the 4th of July, but this was the next step in really adding new cuts to the federal government. Let me read you what Speaker Johnson said. We're going to downsize the scope of government. Government is too large, it does too many things, and it does almost nothing well. We believe in a limited government that's accountable and efficient and effective for the people, and we're going to continue to demonstrate that through our actions here on the floor. He laid out for you in that small clip the fact that Republicans and conservatives are finally holding true to their message of being limited government champions. It's one thing to say for decades, yes, we need a small limited government that's efficient and effective to the people, but we've never seen that in Washington. And so this rescissions package is a demonstration that Republicans on the Hill can actually do it. They're not just using, running on the promise of cutting the size of government. They're actually getting it done. Now, 2 Republicans did not vote for this bill in the House. Representatives Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania and Mike Turner of Ohio. I'm curious to know why. But you know what? Generally, all the Republicans stayed together on this. And we saw in the Senate vote, 3 Republicans. We already know who those three, 2 ladies and 1 man. I know you call them 3 ladies. But we know who those folks were.
In the final vote, Mitch McConnell flipped back. So it was really
he flipped back good. So it was just the 2 ladies.
In the final
okay.
vote, yeah.
Terrific. Well, but I think it suggests now that Republicans have the backbone. They're demonstrating the backbone to actually to right-size government. I like to use that term because there should be a size of government, and it needs to be appropriate for the economic conditions and for the policy agenda of the leader of our nation. And right now we have a president who actually is all about cutting the size of government, driving power, money, and influence back down to the states and let the states decide how to govern for themselves and peel back the power and the influence and the money in Washington. And so, kudos to Speaker Johnson. I don't think it's even a magic act at this point. He's just really impressive at how he's been able to wrangle conservatives together and thread a lot of really tight needles. So this is good, and I'm looking forward to more more cuts to federal spending in different ways in the future over the next year.
Yeah, this one was a test, and it was sad that it was as shaky as it was in the Senate to get this through. But the next round of cuts should be great. And by the way, the next round of cuts should be delivered within the final quarter of the fiscal year. The timing on that is very important because it means it has something to do with the deadline for the spending that has been allocated and appropriated as the new fiscal budget is looming. I think it means that Democrats' hands are tied even further in terms of what they can do to try to stop those rescissions coming in. Because I think what it means is if Congress doesn't act and the end of the fiscal year hits, the executive branch can just operate on their new numbers anyway. I think that's right, and I'm sorry if I'm getting that muddled, but there's an arcane way they do the budget. But yes, congrats to Speaker Johnson. Listen, it's bad enough that we're spending money that we really don't have on things that we really don't need. And by the way, even worse, things that are frankly counter to the American people's desires. When you look at some of the nonsense that was spent, if these members of Congress ever voted individually on these line items, like the Iraqi Sesame Street and circumcisions in Madagascar and what have you, they would never vote for them, right? And so when the American people found out what it was, it's like, no, we don't want to pay for that. But then when you look at NPR actually lying and utilizing propaganda with our money to work against the ideas and desires and political philosophy of at least half of this country, I would argue way more than just half this country, it was frankly offensive and a scandal that we were paying for NPR. In a moment, we're going to focus specifically on that, specifically on National Public Radio and the lies that were told by that organization and the fact that you no longer have to pay for it. But first, it's 5:15.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
You heard a lot of crying and whining and renting of clothing and wringing of hands about how PBS and NPR are on the verge now, or have officially lost all of that federal funding that helps keep them on the air. This is how Brian Stelter put it. PBS and NPR stations are on the verge of losing the federal funding that has helped keep them on the air for decades. Here's what will happen if lawmakers zero out the money. And there's all these dire predictions about what will happen. But here's what's funny. Do you remember when Elon Musk took over Twitter and he started putting sort of labels on corporate accounts so that people can understand what kind of organization they are?
Yeah,
and
I
on PBS
that.
and NPR, he put a label on it, X, the new Twitter, labeled those two accounts as government-funded media. Do you remember that? And NPR and PBS, they were outraged. They were just, how dare you call us government-funded media? That's outrageous. How dare you? And they quit. They decided to not use the platform anymore because they were forced to be labeled as government-funded media. And now they're screaming that they're not going to be able to operate without what? Without what? Government funds. They're obviously government-funded media. That's just what. This
is the left.
It's an example of the lies. Let's not forget. Here, listen to cut one. This was the CEO of NPR, Catherine Maher, when Brandon Gill of Texas. Oh no, this one is.
This is more recent.
I'm sorry. This one is more recent. Here, go ahead and take a listen.
As far as the accusations that we're biased, I would stand up and say, please show me a story that concerns you, because we want to know and we want to bring that conversation back to our newsroom.
Let me tell you something. Senator Kennedy saw that clip on CNN and went through a long list of stories on the Senate floor. Oh, you want us to bring it to your attention? I'll bring it to your attention. NPR reported that country music and birds are racist, told the American people to stop eating beef, promoted the Russiagate conspiracy. NPR claimed President Biden's presidential debate performance didn't change the election days before he dropped out of the race. That was their political analysis. NPR reported that there's no evidence that biological men have an unfair advantage over biological women in sports. NPR also called America's interstate highways racist. That's just a little bit of what Senator Kennedy brought to the table.
We should reshare it this morning. Senator Kennedy, brilliant idea here. He had posters blown up with with a laundry list of headlines. I'm talking about like 5 or 6 massive posters with all of these different NPR headlines. And I listened to the clip, probably a good 10 minutes running. Most of them were around the racism in every aspect of America, from waterways to, the most egregious claims of racism in every aspect of America. And in addition to, obviously, the Hunter Biden stuff and the trans questioning those who question whether we should be, lopping off the body parts of children. And this is what NPR has called reporting. These weren't opinion and then the headline. So this is somebody else putting their ideas out there. This was being pushed by NPR as actual fact that they were reporting on. So it was brilliant. I encourage folks to watch it. Maybe you'll be able to share it online.
The public editor of NPR, when the Hunter Biden laptop story was something that many people were talking about, although they weren't alone in censoring the story. The New York Times ignored it. Washington, all of the broadcast media, really, other than talk radio, ignored the story. Or if they did report it, what they reported was that the story was Russian disinformation and that Donald Trump and right-wing media was pushing Russian propaganda. So they didn't report it, and then when they did report it, they lied about the story.
They were trying to belittle the story by discrediting it before
Here's
they
what
even
NPR
investigated
said.
it.
Here's what NPR said at the time. This is October 22nd, 2020. This is 10 days before the election. The NPR public editor. Why haven't you seen any stories from NPR about the New York Post Hunter Biden story? We don't want to waste our time on stories that are not really stories, and we don't want to waste the listeners' and readers' time on stories that are just pure distractions. You see, in every newsroom, including here at WMAL and including on this program, editorial choices are made all the time. know what their audience is. They know what is good for the public interest. They know what stories are going to be popular or unpopular. They know what stories are going to be relevant and irrelevant for the people who are listening. And sometimes you make an editorial choice saying, you know what, this story might not be something that my listeners know about, but that's why I want to bring it to them, because I think they'll care about it. These choices are made all the time. NPR made that choice, by the way. That's their opinion, that the Hunter Biden story isn't important and it's not something their listeners would care about. I get that. They can make that choice, but not with our money, not while standing there and saying that you have no political bias, that you are completely non-judgmental and nonpartisan and you don't take sides. When you make that editorial decision, you're taking a side and you're doing it with my money. That's a violation of the law. It's not going to happen anymore, though, because they're not going to take my money or your money or any of our money. They're going to have to earn it the good old-fashioned way. And good luck to you, to all of our friends working in it, because we love radio and we want radio to thrive.
Yeah, that's what we do here.
But not subsidized. It's 523.
All right. Have you heard any good jokes on the Stephen Colbert show lately? Neither have we or CBS. It's probably why they're getting canceled. We'll cover this story and more. Stay with us. It's O'Connor and Company at 5:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:37, and you won't have Stephen Colbert to kick around anymore. We're going to get to that story and a whole lot more on a very busy Friday morning, finishing up this week and launching you into a midsummer weekend where it's going to be hot and maybe a little rainy, but at least you won't have to work. Well, most of you. It's 6:35, Tim Graham of Media Research Center, 7:05, Byron York, 8:05, hey, he's a governor. He's the governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin. And then at 8:35, Representative Jason Smith, chair of the House Ways and Means Committee. It's Larry O'Connor with Patrice Onwuka, fresh from her appearance on Capitol Hill, testifying yesterday. Boy, what a hot and muggy day to be in the swamp, all
Are
dressed
you
up
kidding
nice.
me? It's remarkable my hair stood up as well as it did.
I say
Unlike
that
some
every
female
day,
members,
Patrice.
I have natural hair. And I did that. Yes, I just did that.
It was announced yesterday that CBS is ending The Late Show on CBS. This, of course, the show that originated with David Letterman, and then when he exited stage extreme left, Stephen Colbert came in. Stephen Colbert, of course, had a successful show on Comedy Central where he sort of played a character, sort of a lampooned version of Bill O'Reilly. And it was actually kind of funny. As a conservative, I can laugh at myself, and it was funny. Yet at the same time, it was one of those things where Archie Bunker was funny back in the day, if you watch those old reruns.
I loved Archie Bunker.
Archie Bunker also made some good points. And even Stephen Colbert's like insane, arrogant, narcissistic, conservative commentator actually made some good points. And so I could watch it and say, oh, yeah, okay, that's actually kind of funny. Not so much when he got to CBS. And people don't remember that the show was on life support. It was a dud. No one liked him. No one liked him as an interviewer. No one liked the show. Trump saved him. Suddenly he had a target. When Trump came on the scene, he made the show 95% all about Trump. And it may have given him success with the MSNBC audience who would, finish watching Rachel Maddow and then cut over to Stephen Colbert for some late-night group therapy. But it didn't unite an audience. And ultimately, CBS says, honestly, if CBS had said, you know what, we're tired of the divisive comedy, we're tired of it all being about Trump, we want to go in a different direction, I think Colbert would have been able to say, how dare you, sir, how dare you, and be some kind of martyr. But instead, CBS was even meaner. CBS was, this is the worst thing that you want to say. CBS's announcement in canceling The Late Show with Stephen Colbert was, this is purely a financial decision. In other words, we're not going to keep throwing money down the toilet. That's so under. Here's the statement. Purely financial decision against a challenging backdrop and late night. It's not related in any way to the show's performance. What are you talking about? Of course it is.
Wait a minute.
If the show was performing, it would have been making money. Of course it was.
Well, there's a reason why if you hop over to Fox, Gutfeld is blowing ratings out of the water. So the the environment obviously is good, and for somebody, it's just probably good for somebody with good jokes and good talent. And the Colbert Show fails on those measures.
Adam Schiff was a guest last night. Adam Schiff took to the X platform, and he posted on the X platform, "I just finished taping with Stephen Colbert, who announced his show was canceled. If Paramount and CBS ended the Late Show for political reasons, the public deserves to know and deserves better." Now, number one, that's exactly why the show should be canceled, because Adam Schiff was on there and immediately jumps to the conclusion that this is political. Although, I got to tell you something. I bet you writers and interns and staff members, and maybe even Stephen Colbert himself behind the scenes, were grumbling when the cameras were off that this was a political decision. And that's why, because Adam Schiff doesn't have original thoughts. I bet they think that's the case. Don't forget, CBS and Paramount just settled a, $30 million lawsuit from Donald Trump over their deceptive editing of the 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris. So, I mean, everybody thinks that CBS and Paramount are knuckling under to Donald Trump in his authoritarian ways. I have no doubt that this was a money. Here, Stephen Krakauer put together a nice little dialogue here about what happened. A vice president goes into the president of CBS and says, "Sir, Colbert is costing us millions, and the ratings keep hemorrhaging. Should we consider moving on?" And the president says, "Well, let's see. Who does he have on tonight?" And the VP says, "Well, Senator Adam Schiff." No. I mean, like the lead guest, the big Hollywood actor or comedian. No, it's just Schiff, sir. Yeah, cancel it. Because that's the problem. The show no longer cared about laughter or entertainment. It cared about political activism. Here, listen to this. This was a recent appearance where James Comey, the former FBI director, was the lead guest. Who's booking this show? Is it all they care about? There was a time when New York was proud of the fact that there used to be a little D.C.-New York rivalry where New York was like, you may call yourself the capital, but we're really the center of the universe. They're obsessed with us. They are obsessed with us. Here's a little
go ahead.
Colbert and Comey here.
Is this Instagram?
Instagram,
You grammed this. You were walking down the beach. What happened? You were walking down the beach. And you saw this on the beach?
Yeah, my wife and I, Patrice, were walking on the beach and saw those numbers in shells on the beach. And
you didn't do this. Somebody else did this.
Yeah, somebody else did it. We were on a walk preparing for this week.
Boring.
Right.
See, that's the problem. Book. Listen, politics is funny. Political humor is great. He's terrible at it, frankly, because he's so vested in one side of the outcome. I'm glad it's gone. I'm sorry. I hate it when people lose their jobs in the entertainment business, but this show is an embarrassment. And I hope the folks over at Jimmy Kimmel and Seth Meyers and Seth Fallon's not quite as bad, but he's bad too. I hope they all get the message here.
Well, listen, I mean, I think people want to ease into their late night with something that's funny. After you've been inundated with political news time and time again, I mean, throughout the day or the evening after you've come home from work, you really kind of want to relax with an action-packed film like my husband and I like to watch. Maybe some, federal agents going after narcos in Mexico and Tijuana. Or maybe you want to get some, see some interesting celebrities talk about what's going on in their life, a little bit of humor, a little bit of fun, maybe poking at what's going on in the headlines, some of which is political, but it shouldn't be all about the politics nonstop. And with people who are just trying to, brandish their image after, they've been exposed for being liars, thieves, and corrupt. So, I think they have to get a little bit more original than the CBS is going to have to figure out how to fill a better gap here. That's
the key. Be creative. Be original. I don't have high hopes. It's 5:44.
Hey, it's Chris Plant. Find out what the media don't want you to know. Coming up this morning at 9, right here on WMAL.
Our very own Patrice Onwuka appeared on Capitol Hill yesterday in a high-level Senate hearing about Patrice, a devastating bill that took effect in California that sort of gutted the freelance industry there, and something that if Democrats had their way, they would institute on the national level, yeah?
Yeah, so broadly, the hearing was how we can expand portable benefits to independent contractors. And, I provided the context to say, there's a wrong way to expand benefits, which is what California did and had those devastating impacts you mentioned, Larry. The other way is to create, reduce the regulations that make it impossible for different companies and organizations to pay into portable benefits that an individual as an independent contractor, can take anywhere from job to job, client to client. So, this is really a bipartisan way forward. Democratic states and Republican states are actually innovating in this way, but they do need the federal government to create a safe harbor so that, federal agencies can't go after employers who provide these portable benefits for their 1099 workers, their gig workers, their freelancers, and then get hit with massive penalties for misclassification.
It's just common sense. Technology has reached a point, and work from home protocols that they forced on us, by the way, so forgive us if some people got used to it, has just sort of opened up the idea of, the 9 to 5 showing up in a cubicle and commuting, by the way, and spending so much time getting from point A to point B with the breakdown of transportation infrastructure is not the only way it has to be. And so here's a little bit of your opening statement here, celebrating the idea of independent contractors and utilizing technology and other freedoms so that the workforce can, be a little bit more dynamic. Take a listen.
Freelancing and self-employment are long-standing work arrangements in the United States. An estimated 70 million people freelance, nearly half of them women. Over 80% of independent contractors said they prefer their work arrangement over traditional employment. And flexibility is the driving force. People are raising children, caregiving for aging parents, and managing their own health issues. Others find independent contracting as an entry into entrepreneurship. When we look at women, 9 out of 10 female workers who left full-time employment did so because of flexibility, like Jeanette Lonergan, a long-haul freight driver who serves as the primary caregiver for her father-in-law while she's working a full-time job. So independent contractors want, and in some cases need, to remain independent because of their unique circumstances. Today, employer-provided health care is the predominant source of health insurance for working-age adults. And for many American workers, that is fine, but it is out of the reach for independent contractors by law, even would-be entrepreneurs. 20% of them say that they've abandoned the idea of starting a business because of fear over losing health insurance.
Very nice stuff. So how did the questioning go? Yeah. Who was the meanest to you? Did somebody attack you?
Well, Bernie Sanders tried to force me to say healthcare is a human right, and he bungled my name. I had to correct him when he started off. But the Democrats were there. They were purely. It was something like that, Larry. Yeah. Like, listen, I get it. I am very gracious when it comes to people, not struggling with my last name. Just cut it in half. Onwuka. Just Onwuka. But anyway, but the Democrats spent the entire time talking about Medicaid and how 15 million people, 20 million people are going to be kicked off Medicaid. And unfortunately, there weren't enough conservative members there because they had been up till 2 a.m. vote on the Vote-a-Rama for the rescission package, so attendance wasn't as strong, and we weren't able to go back and correct the record as I wished we could have with these Democrats. But yeah, there weren't a lot of fireworks being set off yesterday.
Well, we wanted something ugly. We wanted you to stand up and throw your chair across the room or something, or have.
Yeah, I don't want to get arrested. No, I don't want to get banned from the Senate.
Well, I mean, listen, are you looking to promote our show or not, Patrice? Come on, take one for the team. You want me
to do it in the right way. Like, listen, I don't mind going viral, but it's got to be for something good, not something my mom would be ashamed of, my husband would want to, be embarrassed by. No, it's got to be for something good.
Yeah, that's well, congratulations. Very proud of you.
Thank
Good
you
day on
very
Capitol
much.
Hill. And
yes.
Did they feed you? Did you eat there, or did they?
No, we got some food later to celebrate. Right. Just a nice little treat later.
It's 5:53.